Alice of Terrahawk T2s in the vicinity of Bala, now routing west to the coast. Victor 98 from Reptile 1, you're clear to progress south.
Hello everybody, my name's Chris Brady, author of the Boeing 737 Tech Guide and the Boeing 737 Tech Site. And today I'm going to be talking to you, well, nothing to do with the 737, it's actually about low-level flying. Okay, a couple of notes before I start. First of all, this is all my recollection of my low-level flying training, which happened in the mid-1980s. So this is at least 40 years out of date. Second point is that I didn't get as far as operational frontline squadron low-level flying. I just did training flights. Anyway, here's what I learned. So the day in the squadron starts around about 8 o'clock in the morning when we all meet for MET brief. And the MET brief includes obviously weather information, contrail altitudes, which let you know where you can be seen, where you can be visible, which obviously is you don't want to be seen if you're going into battle, I guess. Any local NOTAMs, purple airspace, which is Royal flights, and a time check. This is quite important because we didn't all have digital watches back then. It was all analog timepieces. And being mechanical, obviously they could go a little bit adrift. So there was a precise time check done every morning at the MET brief. You're then individually as pilots given a duty, and this could be anything from dual training, solar consolidation flying, circuits, general handling, formation flying, or perhaps a NAVX. If you're given a NAVX, what you're actually given by way of a brief is simply a target and a time. You then have to plan the whole thing to be on target at plus or minus 10 seconds. So this means that you have to plan the route and reverse engineer the timings right back to the walk time. Anyway, more on timings later. So, the target. Your instructor will hand you a 50 thou map with a target on. On this map you can see the target was a bridge in the village of Braithwaite up in the Lake District. So you mark that on a 50 thou OS map. Now the targets, well, if they're being generous they give you a bridge, less generous it might be a small building, and if they were being really demanding you'd probably get a red phone box to hit. So next thing you need to do is find an IP, an initial point. You're looking for something about 2 to 4 minutes flying time away with a straight clear run into the target. And the main feature of the IP is it has to be obvious. This particular one you can see is at the top of a lake and it's got a little peninsula sticking out into the lake which should be quite easy to spot. So let's have a look at that on the 50 thou. There we go. That's the route drawn in there between the IP marked with a rectangle and the target marked with a triangle. You connect the two, mark the track which is 253. Add timing points at significant features. So each one of those you see is where they cross a major road, or what counts for a major road up in the Lake District. Highlight any vertical features. These are usually churches. Although I say this was 40 years ago, I guess these days you could probably use things like wind farms. But tall chimney stacks, antenna, but churches are the standard ones because they are what you can see from down low. Next thing, fold the map in half because you've got to be able to hold this with one hand without it being too big. You mark your inbound and outbound tracks and the fuel on after the rest of the NAVX is planned. And this is the orientation you'll be holding the map when you're flying the route. So you can see your check timings there. First road crossings at 40 seconds, next one at minute 47, next at 2 minutes 40, and there's the last one there at 3:38, which to be honest is too late to do anything about your time on target of 4 minutes. But I was new to the game, I was still learning. Okay, so you transfer your IP to target run onto a 1/4 mil map, which is what you'll be using for the bulk of the NAVX, and then you need to find a decent entry and exit route. So you can see what we've got before the entry route there is Bassenthwaite Lake. And the exit route needs to be something that means a sharp turn after the target. What you don't want to do is fly straight on through where you've just bombed or strafed and fly through the blast. So good sharp turn away from the target takes you away from all the enemy action. Add those entry and exit tracks to the IP to target map, and then you can plan the rest of the low level segment. This particular one will start at Windermere, goes round the lakes to Ulverston. You plot your straight line tracks with 2-minute markers. They're 2-minute ticks every on those routes. Put the MSA on in red, which is shown here as 4,500 feet. Highlight any no-fly zones, so Sellafield power stations marked on there. And mark any diversion tracks and distances to your diversions. And we've got Carlisle marked up there on the top right corner. When the fuel planning's done, you can then go back and add the chicken fuel, which is shown there as 17 inside the Red Sea. That's the minimum fuel required to get back to base from that point, and that's the furthest point on the NavX. Fuel circles, got 2 of them down the bottom there. The one on the right shows you should be reaching that point with 27, in this case US gallons. Minimum to do the route is 22. So you should have 5 gallons in hand. And the one down the bottom left shows you should have about 3 gallons in hand. There's probably going to be a high level segment as well. This particular one's Woodvale to Windermere, and then from Ulverston back to Woodvale. The high-low high is actually flown for fuel conservation and noise abatement in peacetime. The fuel conservation is because the fuel consumption has dramatically increased at low level over high level. So you might not have the range on your aircraft type to get to target from where you're deploying. So if you go in high-low high, save a lot of fuel. Highlight again any no-fly zones. So we've got Heysham and Springfield nuclear sites marked. And at the start of each track, you've got a box there with an arrowhead on it, marking the track, flight level, leg time, and minimum safe altitude. Then, once again, fold your map. This one was folded into 4. The planning of the legs is all done on the Nav Log Card, which is next. This is the front and back of the Nav Log Card. And it's around about actual size. They're about 4 inches by 6 inches. On it, you work out each leg. They're all measured, timed, and the headings calculated for drift. For the indicated airspeed, always make it a multiple of 60. Makes the math much easier. 120 knots on the Bulldogs, 2 miles a minute. 420 on the Hawk, 7 miles a minute. Calculate the fuel at this stage, then you transfer those calculations onto the chart. This card's carried in the knee pocket of the flying suit. So, more on timings. That's me getting into the Bulldog, by the way. So, let's say we're given a mission time on target of, say, 12Z. You work back from there. So the IP to target is 4 minutes in this case. Low level segment 10 minutes. High level 23:15. Allow 10 minutes taxi and takeoff, 15 minutes pre-flight. Subtract all those off your 12Z. That gets you to a walkout time of 10:58. So how did that look in the Hawk? Well, the height was the same, still around about 250 feet AGL. But of course it's a lot faster, 420 knots, 7 miles a minute. This particular track, the route planned on here, was what we call a low-level chase. So it was not a high-low-high NavX, but with the addition of getting bounced at low level. So this was to simulate enemy finding you, coming in and attacking you. You had to evade or see them off, get back on track, and hopefully get back on timings. Notice this particular NavX has got 2 IP to target runs. So there's 2 bingo fuels on it of 800 and 600 respectively. You can see in the top left corner. There are your 2 IP to target runs. Zoomed in on there. Unfortunately, I don't have the original 50,000 IP to target charts. Fuel calcs in the Hawk. So we've got 2 bingo fuels because we had 2 targets. They're the minimum fuel to do that IP to target. Fuel circles, these are in hundreds of kg, so your 8.5 is actually 850 kilos. Chicken fuel logs marked on there, 1, 2 and 300 kilos to recover back to Chivana. And the max capacity of the Hawk, 1500 kilos. So starting with, well, the first fuel check on there is 8.5, you'd probably be launching with 10 to do that trip, which is 1 ton fuel. So there you go. That's a little insight into low-level flying. Have fun.
UK low-level, Reptile is a pair of Hawk T2s in the vicinity of Bala, now routing west to the coast. Victor 9-8 from Reptile 1, you're clear to progress south.